Thank you very much. We have about 5-10 minutes for questions. So if I can open it up, let me start over there. If you could please introduce yourself and ask your question. Why don't you try this?
Can you get one? Here you go.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Catherine from Kenya, working for the distribution utility Kenya Power. I have a question for the panelists who indicated that as one of the initiatives to promoting women employment, they have created specific roles that they advertise for women. And I think one example is Nadia from Afghanistan. So my question is, in doing so, how do you then mitigate the risk of like directing all the women to go and apply for that one particular role that you have set aside for the women? Because ultimately, you would want to have an all-rounded woman leader. So when you have specific roles that are for women, how do you mitigate against that risk, that all of them will go for that one role? Thank you.
All right, please.
Hello, I am Bożena Pasik-Duncan, representing IEEE Women in Engineering, but also Faculty of Mathematics and Engineering, University of Kansas from the United States. I wanted to share is growing up exponentially area of data science, deep learning, machine learning, statistical methods of analyzing, especially in area of power and energy. And those programs attract tremendously women. And it's exponential growth in the United States. Almost every now engineering school changes curriculum, changes even departments, related departments, what you call in STEM. I would rather focus on some physics, chemistry, mathematics, and they have associated changes in curriculum in computational aspects. And those attract tremendously women, and there are new opportunities, tremendously attractive opportunities. New careers are generated. And I haven't heard from you, and I was wondering and waiting, because this is something that is fascinating. And, you know, in our universities, our places, and in organization. So I would like to hear from you. And one more comment, we start attracting women at level 3rd grade. It means 8 and 9-year-old, because it turns out National Science Foundation already has research that later on is too late. So I also pass a message from that part of the world. Thank you.
Okay, and one more question, and then we'll go to some answers, please.
I'm Sohel from Gramin Shakti. My question is more extension of what Demetrios asked as the first question. If, I think most of the distinguished speaker agreed that the conditional loan, then why you wait for the agencies come and impose it on us? Why don't you, within your own capacity, within your own organization, within your own context, subject to the availability of resource, go and say take quota? Or convince the authority to say take quota? Why we have to wait the agencies come and put it on us? Of course, there's a question of the resources, but we also see clearly in the Rehena's presentation a gap between the percentage which comes out from the academic and the percentage in the employment. So that's an open question. Thank you.
Thank you. So 3 questions. One is, when we open roles specifically for women, how do we ensure that they can continue to be well-rounded? How do you see the opportunity to get women involved more in the data science and the data analysis and manipulation? And then how about homegrown own initiatives on women? Who would like to start?
Hello. I think it's a good one, especially the first, I don't know which one is, especially in Bhutan, we don't have certain criteria for like women something, it's all equal. So there's no special preference for the women's participant. You just announce the vacancy, anybody can apply. With regards to the second, especially in STEM, first time the word STEM I heard is from my daughter, She's in class 10, and she was saying, Dad, I want to apply for STEM exam. I said, what is STEM? Then she was saying science, technology, mathematics, engineering. I think in Bhutan we started last year or not, I assume, because she appeared last year. So it is coming up. And with regards to data analytical and these things, because in BPC also we are going for, as I mentioned, smart grid policies, right? So most of the women are involved in that one. For example, I was mentioning GIS, all mapping are done by GIS. The software for the distribution in DMS systems is by women. In fact, I think I would say 30 to 40% in the DMS projects are women in BPC. Now, I think it's to the third question from my point of view. I would say unless the donor agency doesn't force, let's assume that this is my company. What do I want? I want someone who can perform excellent work like anything, And honestly speaking, I prefer men if I'm the CEO. Because you just cannot tell the women to forcefully say that you go to the forest and repair the maintenance or do the operation maintenance. That's a fact and that's a reality. But if you, because they are, from the long time onwards, they are not given the opportunity, given the opportunity, given the incentive, unless you give property. See, when in Bhutan, when the first pilot came, people were shocked. Oh, there's first women pilot. Now it is like assume that people don't feel like anything. There's no preference. Similarly, when women first engineer, people are saying, oh, women engineer, she can do it. Women taxi driver, first time it was in news, women driving taxi. We surprised. But once that trend is set, then you don't feel anything. So unless the donor agency gives us support and push with the condition, these things, I don't think any policymaker or planners will take, they take for granted that, oh, this is not possible. There's some DNA, map in their mind that, okay, men, this is man's job or something. Once that is cleaned up, that DNA is, the ancestral DNA is cleaned up, then only, it will come up. So you should do like that hard way, otherwise it's difficult, going through difficult challenges.
I must say I love your enthusiasm whenever you speak, seriously. To answer the first question, so we also don't have anything such that says specific roles for women, but there was a time when we would try to target women for specific roles because that was only to, sort of increase the gender balance, right? And when we do that, another thing along with it that really helps is that when you want, to identify leaders out of specific roles, what you as an add-on do is that set up their career plan, their development plan, so you can actually help them navigate through different roles and lead to the leadership roles. So in isolation, if you just pick up a female for a specific role and then don't go back into, making a career plan for her also, so you're actually setting up somebody for a failure or not really, working on a person to be your future leader. The second question, and very interesting one, see, what we in our capacity in the organization, we're doing a couple of things that actually, so we have an entire distribution network academy, which not only trains our internal people on technical skills, but outside also the organization. And we're going to open it for further organizations and maybe some institutions also. But the point that I like is that, don't target them at a later stage, but, at an age of 3. Here what we need is also, for example, we did a collaboration with UNDP, and what they're now going to do is they're going to look at our Network Academy's curriculum, and they're going to help us, go back to institutions, and we've already started to do that, to make sure that, we tweak around the curriculum in a manner that actually support employment facts. Because sometimes they come into the organization and there's always, we feel that we have to train them for another 6 months, 8 months to make them, come into that drill of performing in that job. So in the capacity of an organization, we've started to do that, and that's how we look at the curriculums. The third question, while I agree that, it is very important, and why we said that, go ahead with, imposing that on the organizations, we know that adds on to the pressure, and I agree with the colleague from ADB here that the talent pipeline is also important that we look at. But I would add to that, so in our own capacity again, we do push our leadership to make sure that, we have that kind of balance there. But it definitely puts on the kind of pressure that then they know that they have to do it and they don't have a choice. The voice coming from us gives them a choice, either to say no or yes or take it slow. But the other voice would put a pressure. And trust me, when that pressure comes in, they will start to, do the reverse working in putting further pressure on the related organizations or institutions to train people into the right disciplines to bring in that talent pool also for the organization.
Would like to answer one question from ma'am's side, like data analysis part. Yes, all SmartGrid technology that we are talking of is more about data analysis. In entire domain of generation, transmission, and transmission and distribution, we are putting transducers to take the input from the field. These inputs are being combined together at a control center ends for analysis purpose. So you need to have a domain knowledge of the engineering field and the data analysis part. That is what I said in my in my session also, in my speak also, that we need a soft skills now, more soft skills, which ladies have expertise in that. So more ladies can come in now in engineering field for this data analytics and smart grid domain activities.
So thank you very much. We are running a little bit out of time, so I will not take any more questions, but I think we have plenty of opportunities the rest of the day to network and discuss things more. So in summary, I think what I'm receiving is that whenever we do a new project, we have to make sure that utilities are part of the WePower network, for sure, as we go forward. And again, please join me. Thank you, everyone, for your participation in this session. Thank you very much.
So, it's not very complicated what you're going next, especially for you. I need to get out of the stage. Please, please, no, sorry. Your computer is there. So, you're going to eat. No, sorry. Oops. I was skipping the most important session, sorry. No. I also am under the embarrassment that I'm hungry, sorry. Totally forget about what I just said. Okay, when the 15 panelists settle and the chair's numbers is reduced, and here they come, go ahead. It's a very important half an hour for all of us. In fact, it's session 2 of WePower Charter and Steering Committee, with nobody more, nobody less than I think the chief engineer and the chief architect of WePower together. So you must be super excited, as I'm sure I am. But even I lost the ability to think that it was not lunchtime. So please, Maria Beatriz Orlando, lead social development specialist, South Asia Social Development Unit. I think you got 6 chairs to choose from, so you shouldn't be embarrassed. And Gunjam Gautam, operations officer from the South Asia Energy Unit. You got overall half an hour, and then I will announce the lunch. Please choose your chair.
Thank you so much, Francesco. And I would like to request a big applause to Francesco and a big thank you for being our partner and for, to you and your team that you thanked this morning for the organization of this wonderful event. So, yes, so should we sit, should we stand? How do you want? We can stand. Okay, and we have a PowerPoint that, we can operate from here. Fantastic. So, do you want to? Okay. So, thank you so much for standing here before lunch. We will try to be efficient because essentially Gunjan and I are standing between you and your food, and this is bad. So, we need to really use the time wisely. So, thank you so much again for joining us. And right now, we are turning from all the issues that we explored together this morning. We started with all this very big picture that our senior management provided. Then we had this wonderful panel with all the intricate details about how to really expand women's participation in the context of utilities. And right now, this is a little bit of our business time to think a little bit about our network and about very concrete steps in terms of our governance, in terms of our proceedings, in terms of how do we move forward. And again, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity for this update. So what we will do is I'll first tell you a little bit about the charter that all We Power members have adopted. Big applause to all of us. We have a charter. So this is great. And my colleague Yukari and Pranav and Gunjan have been behind this big effort. So we wanted to share with all participants this charter. And then Gunjan is also going to update you on the steering committee that will play a significant role in terms of how strategically we continue to move forward and make progress together. So on the charter, the first slide tries to motivate us in terms of why. Why did we need a charter? Why did we, as a network, decide to put together a charter? And what is the problem that the charter is trying to solve? So the charter is meant to be an enabling document for all of us. It is trying to help us organize and self-govern, given that we are a self-sustaining and collaborative network, and we are very diverse as organizations. We have development banks, we have donors also who are very interested in following what we're doing. We have professional networks, we have utilities, we have private sector. So this is a very diverse network, and we have individual members as well, and hopefully we will have even more as we continue growing. So that's a challenge because in diversity there is richness, but then there is a diversity of needs. There is also the fact that each one of us self-sustains and collaborates with concrete activities that we fund ourselves, and we have a little bit of seed money for travel, events, secretariat. This is all clear. So therefore, we need an effective manner of aggregating our efforts and also keeping that flexibility. So the first quality, I think, of our charter is that it's flexible. It gives us maximum flexibility. And this is the difference, I think, between a charter and having memos of understanding and legal documents and all that. So this is something we discussed internally in the World Bank, we discussed with our partners, and we discussed with each one of you. So flexibility was very important for us. The second quality is that, again, the charter needs to represent our diversity. It needs to provide some structure and provisions so that we can be organized and move forward in a way that is effective. It also needs to support the decision-making of our steering committee. So the charter provides that kind of the enabling environment for the steering committee to operate and to make effective decisions on our behalf. And last but not least, it enables our growth, and growth should be our goal, right? I wanted to take 1 second for a quiz. How many members do you think We Power has? I want a show of hands for 11. Who thinks that we are 11 right now? How many are we in We Power? 11? Okay, I have 1 vote for 11. 20, 21? Okay. 50. Are we 50? No, not yet. Okay, so 50 is our target. We are 21 at the moment. Thank you for being part of the network, and we want to double that, more than double. We want to become 50. That's the target that we have, and therefore the charter needs to take that into consideration. That if we set up a structure that is too rigid and too predetermined, that may prevent us from new partners, attracting new partners with different characteristics. So that's the flexibility there. The charter gives the steering committee, as I said before, the mandate to determine, finalize the administrative policies and procedures, make amendments as required as we grow, and form advisory groups and committees as necessary to carry other functions. Like, let's say we want to carry more studies, and we want a working group on studies, which is something that we have all been discussing in our different capacities. Would it be possible for the steering committee to set up a working group on analytical work? Yes, absolutely. So, and then some members may be interested in that, and others are not so. So that is perfectly fine. Okay, at the moment we have endorsed this charter. Let me tell you a little bit what our process was, and I'll go through this very quickly. We agreed on the need for a charter in February during our Kathmandu event. Then we started, we did a lot of consultations internally at the World Bank, including our lawyers, so that we could draft something as the interim secretariat that would be agreeable for our entire group. Then in September, we presented it to you. We have been collecting feedback from all of you, and today we can proudly say that we have adopted it. So going next, let me just introduce you very quickly to the charter. This will all be distributed, and the actual text will be distributed to the members as well. But just in terms of just quickly sharing, of course, the charter determines our name. We are the We Power South Asia Women in Power Sector Professional Network. Of course, that's who we are. A little bit. The charter has a little bit on the why, and these are all well known to all of you. We know that the energy sector is crucial to development. We know that the opportunities for women are limited in the sector, and that's why we are here together as We Power. We are operating in Afghanistan, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Maldives, Nepal, Pakistan, and Sri Lanka. And we want to support workforce participation of women in energy projects and institutions. But equally importantly, we want to promote normative change for women and girls in STEM more generally. So as we do our work, we are not simply happy with seeing numbers of women grow, but we also have to aim at that normative change that makes our work more sustainable and permanent. And all the panelists in the previous session were talking about that. Our governance is composed of multiple stakeholders. We have strategic partners, institutional partners. By institutional partners, we mean our utilities, public utilities, and individual members. So that's the type of membership, if you wish. We have been administered so far by an interim secretariat, the core We Power team at the World Bank, and we have done our absolute best, but we realize our efforts are not enough, and we need to move into a more sustainable model. And in the interim secretariat formed a steering committee that Gunjan will tell you all about, and the steering committee from now on will manage the transition from an interim secretariat to a secretariat, and it will authorize the administrative policies and procedures. So this is a very important juncture for us. So we're going from an informal sort of project managed by a team at the World Bank to a little bit more formal, but yet very flexible situation. We have a steering committee that provides the strategic guidance that represents all of us, that includes several of our members, and then also a secretariat that will have very specific functions and defined functions. Okay, so I think we can go to the next one. So the steering committee, again, is the main governance mechanism of the We Power network, and will authorize policies, procedures, and key decisions, facilitate the transition to a permanent secretariat, and again, will be composed by a diverse group of stakeholders. So we need to include each one of the types of members that we already mentioned. So again, we have strategic partners, institutional partners, and individual members, and we have a little bit of a typology. We are very familiar with our pillars, and our charter blesses our pillars in a kind of semi-legal way, I would say. So that is, these pillars have been validated by all of us, and definitely all our activities are grouped into each one of the pillars. STEM education, that was mentioned by our previous panel, recruitment, development, retention of women in the sector, and of course, cross-cutting pillar of policy and institutional change. We also have another section that is very procedural but quite important. We're committing in our charter to have at least one annual meeting. This year we're lucky, we have had 2 face-to-face meetings. Thanks to ADB for hosting our second meeting and enabling us to have a second meeting in the same calendar year. But we realized, because of budget and sustainability issues, that may be too much. Also, as we work together, we may not need to meet so often. So once a year, we feel it's possible for us to try to have a face-to-face meeting. We also are committing to several working groups and more interactions both in person and virtual. Online is going to be crucial for us. Our LinkedIn group needs your participation. It has been very active. We need more, and we all, even personally, need to commit to more participation via LinkedIn. And we need to also engage in more e-discussions, WebEx conversations. Definitely, those are very specific commitments. We have an address that right now is the Interim Secretariat address. That's a legal requirement of the charter. We have defined again the countries where we work, that's already known. If we go to the next one, we also, there is the moment to define the terms of reference for the steering committee, and I'll let Gunjan introduce those to you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, MB. So in preparing the terms of reference of the steering committee, we followed the same consultative process. Both the charter and the draft terms of reference of the steering committee were circulated together for your feedback, and we had a consultative meeting, an online consultative meeting. Your suggestions are largely incorporated. Whatever is not incorporated